All right, we are now broadcasting.
All right, so I guess the first question we really want to ask you is how robotics can be used in an elementary school classroom, or even just as this, like in the school as a whole.
Um, I use it a lot of different ways, um, and I was an English teacher, and so math and science are not my forte. So a lot of times when we do robotics and programming, and the kids ask me a question, I say, I don't know, figure it out, and that's worked well because they do figure it out, but there are times when they run into a point where I wish I could help them a little bit more. But so I use it in a lot of different ways. The math is an easy tie-in, um, and but I use it for problem solving a lot, or you know critical thinking and looking at something, a process, or if they're building a robot, um, the, 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 they run into problems, and then how do they solve them? And one of the things I do like about programming is that it's it follows a pattern, or it follows logic, and it follows instructions, and so it's kind of that they learn that if they enter the right thing and they figure out what the right thing to enter is, they'll, it will work. Um, Whereas sometimes, like in a field like English, where there may not be a necessarily right or wrong answer. So um, I use it for a lot of problem solving, and just I've also used it though for storytelling. Uh, it depends. There are a lot of uses depending on what tools you use. So it's mainly how creative can you get with it, uh, uh, as far as where you go. So, like I said, I come from an English background. I found ways to tie it into English. There aren't a lot of people, because most of the people who teach programming or robotics are science or mostly math, and so if there's an easy link there, finding it in other content areas isn't always an easy link.
Yeah, can you
Yes.
elaborate a little bit more on how you use it in an English class? Because I know that's one of the things that I have been really curious about, I guess, because I think English is one of the harder subjects to use robotics and even just really tying in technology with it. So can you elaborate a little bit more on different ways that you've done that?
So the biggest way is the spheros, which the spheros are probably our most popular tool at the school that I'm at. And we just got Ozobots maybe 3 weeks ago. So I also have an innovation club, and so the Ozobots, I just gave them to a couple of kids and said, figure them out. And so a couple of kids took them home and played with them, but I haven't had the time to sit down with the Ozobots and figure them out. But the Spheros are really popular, and so with the Spheros, what I did last year was with a sixth grade English class. We had them they had to make a movie, a first person narrative, but the Sphero was the main character, so they didn't have dialogue, so they had to use the Sphero and program it to do actions that conveyed what it was trying to say. And so the Sphero was just the main character, or Spheros if they wanted more than one. And so there was an element of instructing the Sphero what to do, but there was also this element of how did actions speak for us when we don't have dialogue, and that's kind of so it was a couple different parts. That's the biggest way I've used it. Right now, let's see. I'm using it as I have a class, a fifth grade class, that's building obstacle courses out of it, and we're using it more for creative. Um, the teacher might use it in math down the road, but right now it's more just a creative problem-solving lesson, in essence. And so that's how I tie it into humanities or English.
Awesome, thank you. Um, I don't know, Jane, if you had a certain question you wanted to ask or anything.
Sure. We watched one of your recent podcasts, and we also like explored your website, and we saw a lot about the flipped classroom approach. And I know that I actually did this, like my teachers used this in high school, and I thought it was really helpful in high school. But I was wondering, do you think it would work in an elementary level classroom? And like, if so, why or why not?
If it's done correctly, it can work at any grade level. I rarely see it below fourth grade. We at the school that I'm at now, I'm in essence an instructional coach. We use it fifth grade. Our fifth grade teacher uses it for her math class. Our seventh grade teacher uses it for science and math. When I flipped my class, it was seventh and eighth English, and I flipped everything. But down to fourth grade, it's easy. Below that, you can use it. One is how do you deliver it? How do you deliver your content? Or some teachers I've seen use it as a station. You know, when they're doing different stations in the classroom, they'll have one where you just sit and watch a video as your station. So, you know, and I've seen one kindergarten teacher use it. He's a teacher out in Nebraska, and it was more, he would send an email home to the parents, you know, and it was kind of like, this is what we're going to do. And it may have been like a minute long or 2 minutes long. This is a skill we're going to work on in class tomorrow. Can you watch this video with your child and talk about it a little bit? So then when they came to school the next day, they weren't starting from zero. They had a little bit of pre-work, but then he also connected the parents to what was happening in class, and the parents got to take sort of an active role in that. So, you know, I don't know what you learned in kindergarten, but maybe it was how to tie your shoes. We're going to work on tying our shoes tomorrow. Here's a short video. Let them watch it with you and talk about it a little bit. And the next day, he might save 15, 20 minutes on the lesson because they already have some pre-work done. So it takes a little bit more creativity below fourth grade, but the concept is not necessarily how to get them to watch a video. The concept is how can we use our class time together more efficiently and better. And so anybody can use it if they. The thing is, most lower grade classes are so active that they're already using their class time pretty well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to kind of more robotics related stuff, what would you say is kind of the best way to start introducing it into a classroom? And then also, I guess, are there any resources or websites that you particularly like or have found really useful in teaching kids about robotics and stuff like coding?
So the way when I introduced it this year to third and fourth graders, I took masking tape and made a maze on the floor of the classroom, and then I just said, program your friend. I paired them off into with their friends and said, program your friend. Give your friend instructions to follow this maze, and then we I gave them 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to do that, and just observed how they solved those problems. Some would actually measure it out. You know, they'd step it out and they'd kind of get a measurement. Some of them would actually draw it out first and then write out their instructions. But they always, especially at that way, third and fourth graders are very impulsive and want to jump in right away. and they always forget steps. They'd say, walk forward and then turn right, and they wouldn't tell them how far to walk forward and when to turn right. And so then we talk about, okay, were they able to complete the maze with your instructions? And I'd show them problems that they had with their instructions, and then we'd go back and they'd rewrite their instructions to see if they could get better at it. But I never did tell them at the beginning they were doing programming. I waited till the end and just said, you just wrote a computer program. You wrote a series of instructions. And we talked about how the different methods they came to solving that puzzle themselves. And then I introduced them to different, like Scratch is a very easy programming tool or language for students to understand, especially the younger ones. So I think it's scratch.org if I'm remembering correctly. And so that code.org. A lot of third and fourth graders love code.org because they'll say, well, I like video games. I want to learn about video games. And I'm like, you can make your own video game. And so I send them to code.org and they go through the lessons and start making video games. And then other kids are like, why are they playing games? I said, they're not playing games. They're actually building a game. And then other kids want to try it. So code.org is a good one. I've used CS First, which is Google's computer science first website, but it ends up linking you back to Scratch. So you could use CS First if you wanted to, but my students found it a little bit confusing jumping back and forth between the CS First site and the Scratch site. Because the CS First site gives them a task to complete, but has them completed on Scratch. And so my students would get into playing with Scratch and forget that they were supposed to be completing a task for CS First. So it's got generally a good concept, but it needs some work as to tying it together better. I've had first graders pick up the spheros just like that. They just the excitement of seeing them. Now they're not doing a whole lot of programming at first grade with the spheros, but they can control them very well. And so that's a tool that I like to use. Just the Sphero in general is a great introductory tool, just because everybody, when they see it for the first time, they think it's so cool. And then I've seen these B-bots. I don't have any B-bots. I haven't convinced my principal yet to buy them, but B-bots are like little bees with buttons on them which have programming, and they're for very young children, like kindergarten and first grade. So I'd like to get those to try those. I've heard good things about those. So it's mainly, I introduce them to the concept of problem solving and following a series of instructions, and that's in essence what programming is. And then I bridge them into looking at Scratch to see how to actually put those pieces together for instructions and kind of trial and error and put them together and play through it and see that. So, those are the ones that I use the most with the younger grades.
Awesome, thank you. I guess, Jane, do you have like another specific question or anything you want to ask, or I have one?
I just have a short question. Going off like what you've already talked about, how early can you introduce these types of things to children? Like what grades? Is it like most beneficial?
Kindergarten. I mean, even before kindergarten. But kindergarten, they have some tools for kindergarten. At my school, the youngest we've done it at this point is third grade. And that's just teacher personality. But I know some kindergarten teachers that do it. And I think it's important to introduce those kind of things as soon as possible, because I know when we pull out the iPads with our kindergartners, they immediately want to play games because that's what they've done. they haven't seen the iPad as any kind of productivity tool. They've always seen it as, here, kids, sit here and play games on it. And so, so the sooner you can introduce these technology tools as tools and not just for fun, the easier it is to keep them from getting into bad habits by the time they're in fourth and fifth grade. Because I've got fifth and sixth graders that can barely type because they didn't get exposure to computers and different things a lot when they were younger, and it's hard to teach them other skills they need to know when it takes them 20 minutes to type a paragraph. So.
Cool. One question I had is, and one thing you talked about the maze that you did with the students and having them just direct their friend through it. And I want to know, I know that robotics are very computer heavy, but would you have any activities kind of similar to the maze that they can use maybe without having a computer on hand or something like that to practice the actual things? Because I know that Jane and I both, we go to field experience and we work in a fifth grade classroom where a lot of these students don't have access to those kind of resources at home. So do you have ways that they can kind of explore that stuff, or at least even at school, without maybe quite the same resources that you have now?
I think you can. I'm fortunate that we have a lot of devices available, and so that we can try different things. Like I said, I did the maze, but you can do this. There's certain challenges. I don't know. Let's say the marshmallow challenge. That's traditionally used as like an icebreaker or get to know people and kind of discuss problem solving. But you could use that as an explanation of programming as well, or anything. Take popsicle sticks and have them build something. Programming is just following logic and problem solving until you find the right steps to complete the task.
Great, thank you. Jane, I don't know if you have any other remarks or.
I've asked all my questions.
Yeah, I don't know. I really liked. I was looking through your website and I liked all the stuff you had. Oh, one thing Jane and I were wondering about. We noticed you talked about the Imagination Foundation a lot. Mm-hmm. Can you just kind of elaborate what exactly that is?
Have you seen the Kane's Arcade video?
I have not. I know I've heard of it.
So Kane was a 9-year-old boy. He's 13 now. He was 9, and his dad owned an auto body or an auto parts store in East LA. And during the summer, he didn't have anywhere to go, so he'd have to stay at the store every day with his dad. And since a lot of auto parts business is now done online, he had a ton of boxes from receiving auto parts and shipping auto parts. And so just for fun, Kane built this little arcade in the store. And this filmmaker, Nirvan, he was looking for something for his car and just happened to stop in and said, "What's this arcade doing here?" And so he started asking Kane about his arcade, and he played it, had a little fun. And then he asked the dad. He said, "I'd like to make a little film about this arcade." He said, "Do you think I can interview some of his customers or whatever?" And his dad's like, "You're his only customer." So he put out a message on a couple of different social medias that said, "We're going to have this flash mob at Kane's Arcade on this particular day," and hundreds of people showed up to play Kane's Arcade. And that was kind of the start of it. They made the video, they put it out. It went viral and inspired a lot of people to try to do similar type things. And then Nirvan, who's the filmmaker, he got the idea to start a nonprofit organization to promote this kind of learning or creativity in children. And so he started the Imagination Foundation, I think 4 years ago, 3 years ago maybe, I can't remember the exact year, but so he started the Imagination Foundation, and they promote this model called creative play, and they have a lot of tools and resources for people who are looking to engage children in creative problem solving as a learning tool. And so I became a chapter leader this year with the Imagination Foundation, just so I could get to know them better and tap into their resources. And so they're still a young organization, but they have a lot of they got some research behind what they're doing. They've got a lot of sponsors now. That's what the Ozobots that I got came from the Imagination Foundation. They sent me 5 Ozobots for free. So they have a lot of sponsors who are supporting what they're doing. And so since I have my innovation club and I have like a Genius Hour type class, I tie in a lot of Imagination Foundation things with my students. And so they just had the most recent cardboard challenge. October 6th, I think, was the date, but it was the Saturday nearest the anniversary to the very first King's Arcade video. So that's what the Imagination Foundation is.
Cool. Thank you.
Which one of my websites were you looking at?
The one that Jane and I both looked at it's the troycochran.com one.
Okay.
So yeah, we were kind of poking around on there and looking at the stuff on that website, which I really liked the resources section.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because I have a blog, and I need to tie everything together a little bit better, but I have a blog that's Flip Your Glassroom, because I used to have Google Glass, but then they stopped making Google Glass, so I sold Google Glass, but I already own the website, so I'm like, well, I'll just keep Flip Your Glassroom. And now people are like, why is it called Glassroom? And I'm like, it's a long story, just go with it. And then for my imagination chapter, I have sparkingimagination.org that I blog there about what my kids are doing in class. Then I have the Flipped Learning Remixed website for the podcast, so I have a lot of websites.
Awesome. We'll have to check them out. Well, I guess, unless, Jane, you have any other remarks, or Troy, I guess if you have anything else you want to leave us with, we can kind of start to wrap up.
What tools have you used? I'm curious as to what tools you've used.
In class, we've used Scratch a lot. Jane and I did a project on that together, and we really, really liked that one. Do you know what else we've used, Jane?
Also, one of our .org website, and we had to get our application.
Okay.
Which I thought was really fun, and I thought that would be something that could totally be used in a 5th grade classroom setting.
Yeah.
You should definitely do the hour of code with them.
Hear me?
I did hour code with our 7th graders last year, just to kind of introduce them to programming, it's the more they can be introduced at younger ages, the more 3D printers now use what's called G code mostly, which is very complex. And none of my kids know how to use G-code, and so when we want to use the 3D printer, they have to give it to me, and I don't know G-code, so then I have to call the manufacturer and say, we have this problem. Is it our fault or the software's fault? But the sooner they learn that kind of mentality, that thinking, that where they can find those resources, then they can, because programming is not going away. There's so many things that need to be programmed that kids who have a background in it are going to do quite well for themselves in the future. So, so it's good to see. I always like to see what other people are using as well. for that. I mean, we've done a lot of the cardboard stuff, but they also have cardboard robotics. Hummingbirds, I think, are one of them, uh, which I like the looks of those. E-textiles, I think, are becoming bigger. Um, and I have two girls who, let's see, they're fifth graders, so they're trying to make me a Christmas sweater with lights in it, and they're going to sew a lily pad into it, make the lights light up, and play a song. And I have no idea how they do that. I mean, I know it's possible, but and so they came to me and they said, "Can we do this?" And I'm like, "If you think you can, sure, go ahead." And then they came to me and they said, "Well, we need this board. It's called a lily pad. It's like $50." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went to my principal and said, "Can I have $50?" And so we bought them the lily pad. And I said, "Well, now that we've bought this for you, you've got to figure out how to do it." And so they've been trying to figure it out, and they're watching YouTube videos and going on Instructables, which is a good site for finding stuff like that. And so they figured out how to make lights work off of it. Now they're trying to figure out how to program the lights to do some sort of pattern, and then they're going to find me a very nice Christmas sweater, I guess, and sew it into it. So, but you know, one of the moms was like, she's like, "My daughter's always been good at math, but never liked math." And so the mom is like so excited that her daughter's doing this because she's like, it's good to see her excited about something that she can also be good at. So, you know, so it's like I said, sometimes I wish I knew more about that to help them, but sometimes just saying, I don't know, figure it out, is the best thing they need to hear, because if I just said, "Oh yeah, just do this," they might never actually learn how to do that piece. So we also use Vex robots, which are very expensive, but they're competition robots. And it's the same thing. My principal bought a bunch of Vex robots, um, and then we didn't know how to use them. So I just opened the box up with the kids and said, "Let's figure out how to build these robots." And that was last year. Now this year we're actually going to go to competitions. And they've been watching YouTube videos trying to figure out what we're supposed to do at the competitions. So hopefully we won't totally embarrass ourselves, but it's a lot of fun trying to figure this stuff out. And we as adults see the practical uses of this, and they start to see the practical uses of having these programming skills and these ability to build things, and you know, the cost of 3D printers is only going to go down, and it's not going to be very much longer. I'm sure, I would guess to say by the time you guys graduate, 3D printers will be pretty common in most schools, because you know they have some that are $300 at this point. They're slow and they don't have a great quality, but they're coming down. And so when students learn that, one of the examples I like to give is, if your vacuum cleaner breaks, most people throw out their vacuum cleaner and go buy a new one. Well, if everybody has a 3D printer in their home, they can print the part they need to fix the vacuum cleaner, and then they prepare their vacuum. Or if you want an iPhone case, why go to Walmart to spend $15 on an iPhone case when you could print your own on a 3D printer? And so when they learn those skills and learn that they can do that, it becomes pretty powerful.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I know I certainly learned a lot from this chat. There's a lot of stuff I'm really excited to start putting into my classroom. I know, Jane, if you also, I'm assuming, learned a lot.
Yeah.
Do you guys have an area? I mean, you're both elementary education, right?
Yes.
Do you have
Yeah.
do you have an area of specialty that you kind of lean towards, or?
I know.
I
Go ahead, Jane.
Okay, I'm actually getting like a concentration in math along with
Okay.
this computer education license. So I'm hoping that I can put those two together and like make it a really strong lessons that I can do that incorporate technology into math.
Mhm.
Yeah, my focus is going to be I'm minoring in psychology, which is not going to be quite as applicable when it comes to teaching that to my students, but I know the cell program that we're doing is really the other big part of my major, so I'm really looking forward to continuing on with the program and seeing what other stuff there is.
Um, Psychology will at least give you some background in behavior,
Yes.
cognitive behaviors and things like that. And, especially at the elementary level, there's a lot of how can we, whether they realize that's what they're doing or not, they're looking at how can we modify behavior and things like that. But yeah, technology is you guys will have a leg up going into the field. I'm sure you've heard the term digital native,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it's some people confuse digital native to mean you already know how to use these tools. Digital native, in my opinion, means it's like a native English speaker. You learn the language easier, but you still have to be taught it. So you guys are coming in with a leg up, having been exposed to this environment and knowing the tools and being taught the tools, whereas a lot of teachers, I mean, the internet didn't exist till I was in college. I was a sophomore in college when the internet came out. Uh, and so there's a lot of teachers my age and older who don't understand this, where the world is going and what the world can look like. Uh, and technology's done a lot to change how we should be or how we are instructing students. And Matt, I'd like to see this is being recorded, so I'm going to be careful. I know a lot of great math teachers. I know a lot of really bad math teachers. Uh, and I think really need to change the way we teach math. And I think technology helps with that. So for you, Jane, I would suggest looking up Dan Meyer, Meyer. He was a high school math teacher for years. Now he's getting his PhD at Stanford, but he does a lot of research on how to teach math differently. And he's got a lot of great ideas as far as that. So look him up because he's doing some good things as far as math instruction goes. So.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to let us ask you these questions and stuff. I'm really excited to go back to our teacher Yahweh and tell her all about the stuff that we learned about. I don't know, Jane, if you have any final
Yes,
remarks.
thank you so much for meeting with us.
It's no problem. I enjoy. I think you'll learn that teaching is a calling. Teaching isn't a profession. For the people who teaching is a profession, they don't stay in it very long. For people who teaching is a calling, we enjoy talking about teaching. So I just enjoy helping other people because teaching is about sharing as well. So I enjoy helping other people learn, and it's good to see college students who are eager to learn and see what's going on out there. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I had a great time talking with you,
No
and
problem.
I guess have a good evening and good luck with continuing with your robotics in your classroom.
No problem. If you ever have any
Thank
questions, just send me an email. I'm happy to help out.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
So I'll see you guys later.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.